All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin Moore. I'm the Financial Literacy Manager at Union Bank and Trust. I'm located in Lincoln, Nebraska. So thanks for joining me. I know most of you are on the East Coast. I know one person was in San Diego, which I feel is super awesome. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to be talking about fraud and scams as it works in the side of banking. So what are some frauds and scams out there that no matter where you bank, if you use money, that you might come in contact with? They are all pretty applicable to most walks of life, no matter how old you are. So we're just going to go through these. Feel free to ask questions. I love to hear stories, but I would ask that we just save those to the end if you do have any stories regarding fraud, but feel free to chime in. You'll have to unmute yourself because I am going to mute everyone just in case. So here we go. Let's start.
Yeah, one quick thing. Don't be afraid to speak up because it's kind of hard to read through all the chat messages unless it's like if it's going too quickly. Sorry, I just want to mention that. So
yeah,
you guys have any questions, don't hesitate. Just to, turn your mic on. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Real quick. Okay, so let's talk about social media scams. This is probably the most prevalent, especially with young folks. So let's talk about what that looks like. So scammers are using social media platforms to connect with you. And the way that they do this is several ways. One is they're gonna act, basically their foundation is to use a friend of yours. They hack into somebody's site and then they reach out to all of their friends, acting as if they are the friend, and they'll request to send money to a person or ask you to send money to them, even if you haven't communicated previously about this. So one of the biggest things with social media scams is, though you may know this person, be very cautious about who they actually are. So let's say you have a friend from high school that you haven't talked to in 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden they're asking you for money, or they're saying, hey, I'm going to send you some money, send me some back, that kind of idea. You should probably check into them somehow, because if you're not on this friendship level or relationship level that you know the person and you know that there's a need, then it's likely a scammer. And this is happening constantly. I'm not making this up. I work at the bank and this is what they're saying. It's constantly happening. They'll request to or inform you that you can make quick cash, which again, they're going to send you more than they should, and then you send it back. And the reason that this happens, the fraud piece of this, is they're going to send you some sort of check for, say, $5,000, and they're going to go, oh, I overpaid you. Here's my bank info. Send me $2,000 back, whatever that looks like. By the time their check actually clears, and it won't clear, it's going to come up as fraud, you've already sent the money, because they're going to make it easier for you to send it, whether it's over like Venmo or an electronic payment. But their check is going to take longer because certain amounts of money take certain amounts of time to clear. So we want to be really, really careful about this, because it's going to take their money a lot more time to clear your account than your account to clear yours, because they're going to make it easier on you. They'll probably request for your online banking or mobile banking information, saying, oh, just give me your sign-in information, give me your bank account, give me your social. I'll just do this really quickly, because that is a quicker way of doing things if you know that information. But if you don't know who you're talking to on the other end, and maybe you think you do, but that's where the fraud comes into play. So my suggestion with this is, if you know somebody or your friend is asking you on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever one you go through, and I'm probably dating myself because I know not many people use Facebook anymore, but no matter where the outlet is, if they're asking you, you need to check in with them. So get their phone number, talk to them on the line. If you have their phone number, call them, make sure it is who they're saying it is. Never send money to anyone you recognize. And if you do recognize them, so like I said, if it is a friend, call and contact them directly to ensure that it's really them, because it is not normal for someone you haven't talked to in 15 years to ask you for money. That's just not normal. It's not normal for someone a year ago to ask for money. So be cautious. Don't just trust anybody because they're asking you for $100. You need to ask you need to figure out who it is, because it's not just going to end at $100. They're going to keep taking from your account. In some cases, your friends and family may have had their social media profiles hacked, which is likely the issue. If you come across this, reach out to that person, let them know that it was hacked so they can put up some security provisions with that. Like I said, this is happening constantly. So if it does happen to you or has happened, stop communicating with the person altogether. Update your own password and security, because they may have figured out a way to hack into your site. And with so many social media platforms having their own ways to pay. So I know Facebook, you could send money through Facebook. If they get into your account, they're going to get your account information. So you're going to want to update your own information if you have dealt with a scammer. Alert the person that is being scammed. So you need to alert your friend that their Facebook or their social media platform has been hacked. And if you have paid a scammer with gift cards, which I'll go into that a little bit later, or any sort, even a check, alert the issuing company. With gift cards, it may be a lost cause. You may not get your money back, but if you still have those receipts they give you, which is always good to hang on to, they could usually put a stop to that gift card's activation. And so you could possibly get your money back. So when it comes to gift cards as a payment, there is somewhat a way to get your money back, but it's within a certain amount of time. If you give your personal information to a scammer, contact your bank ASAP. There's a lot of things that banks can do if you have given your banking information away. The worst thing that will happen is they're going to close your account and reopen one for you. That's a good way to stop a scammer or a repetitive payment on your account. Maybe you see this charge that keeps coming out. Credit card companies, banks, they can all just close your account and reopen it. So you need to call them as soon as possible. But they also put an alert on your account. So if there is, maybe there's a location that that money's coming out of, or weird charges, they're going to put an alert on there. So they have extra security that is going to keep track of your account and alert you if there's any odd payout on your account. So it's always good to just alert your bank if you suspect even the smallest scam is going on or a potential one, because at least you could be alerted. And if you bank with a bank that is FDIC insured, individually, you are insured up to $250,000. So if you have fraud on your account, as long as it wasn't over $250,000, you're going to get it back. The bank's going to give it to you. They have an insurance policy that allows them to give that back to you, but you have to communicate with them. So that's why I'm saying, even if you suspect something, call your bank. One of the things you can also do is freeze your personal information with your credit bureau. So if you do have credit, you can freeze your credit. That means that you're putting in a formal request that no more credit can be taken out in your name until you tell them otherwise. So no one could take out a loan, a credit card, a debit card, open up a bank account, anything like that with your social security number and your name. When you're ready to unfreeze it, you have to send in a request. They have a certain way of doing that. But this alleviates any fraud that can move forward on your account. The other thing with credit bureaus, and I think we talked about this 2 sessions ago with credit, how to build credit. There's 3 main credit companies, and you could call any of them: Equifax, Experian, and I'm forgetting TransUnion. You could call any of them for this process to freeze your account and then unfreeze it. So it's a good way to help guard yourself against fraud if that is the case. If you've ever looked at your bank statement and identified any deposit, so money going into your account that you do not know of, you need to call your bank, because that means somebody has your information and they're putting money in your account and likely taking it out, or they're going to contact you saying, oh, I put $2,000 in your account. Can you send it back to me? And the $2,000 that's in your account hasn't cleared yet. So there's fraud going on. So even look at the deposits, what's going into your account, and make sure that that's always from a person that you know, or your work or something like that. Again, if you bank with a bank that's FDIC insured, which is most banks minus credit unions, then you have this insurance policy individually for $250,000. If you're a part of a credit union, they have their own insurance. It's just called something else, and it may have a different limit. But for the banking side, with a typical bank, it's $250,000. Okay, any questions on social media scams? I have somebody given a story here, which I'm not going to read it right now, but I'm sure it's interesting. I love fraud stories. All of this information came from our customer service department, and they've got some good stories. So if there's no questions, I'm going to move on to romance scams. These are like online scams, which is at the end of this. So we're going to skip online scams, and I'm just going to all encompass this. So romance scams. So these are scammers start by using someone else's identity to create fake profiles. So maybe they're phishing on the internet, and you are in some sort of relationship with somebody online, and it ends up not being who they say it is. So it's not a picture, it's a picture of somebody else. Maybe it's a model, something like that, which if you ever suspect that, you can actually drag the picture into Google, and Google will do a search and try to find this picture elsewhere or someone that looks like them to find out who it really is. So they might send you flattering messages, make connections, say all the right things, gain your trust. So this scammer might actually work for a while to gain your trust before they ask for any money or do anything financial with you. So if you're on dating sites, this is what I'm talking about. You need to be very careful that the person is who they say they are. So do some investigating. I think that that's kind of a regular suggestion on any dating site is do your homework before, especially if you meet them, make sure you're safe. But especially on this end, when it's just the talking side, make sure that you are safe also. These scammers typically claim to be a doctor or service member living overseas. They'll try to make future plans with you. So it may be someone of a higher position or, servicemen, things like that. And then all of a sudden something will come up. There's an emergency and they need money and they need it now, which is odd because if they're a doctor, but if they're overseas, maybe they're doing charity work and suddenly they need money, or a service member, I need money or else I can't get home, things like that. That should be your red flag. When all of a sudden, once trust is gained, they need something, they need money, and they're asking you. And what they're going to do is they're going to put timelines on it. I need it now. I need it now. I need it yesterday. Where you're working off emotions because you have feelings for this person, and you're going to work off those emotions and say, okay, whatever you need, let's do it right now. So the romance scams tend to go faster. There's urgency behind it, especially their claim is overseas or they're in danger. There tends to be this high risk situation that they're under, and they are going to ask you for money. Another red flag with romance scams or online scams is they're going to ask you to send money in different ways than just money. So they're going to ask you to send gift cards, give them your PIN number so they could just go get cash somewhere, which you can't do that without a card, or wire them money. So the gift card seems to be a big ticket item for scammers. And that's because once you spend money on a gift card, it's really hard to track. Like I said before, unless you have those receipts with you and within a certain amount of time. But what we're seeing is that people from overseas or scammers overseas are asking for gift cards that really they can't use. So they say they're overseas and they're asking for Starbucks gift cards or Walmart gift cards. And maybe those things exist, but it's few and far between. So this should be your telling point is why would you need a gift card? Why would anybody need a gift card for $2,000 to go to Walmart as a repayment? That's their urgency. I have a medical reason, so a medical emergency, so pay me in a gift card. That doesn't make sense. That should not ever be justified as a payment option is through a gift card. It just shouldn't. It's not the easy way out. It's really just so the scammer gets the money and it's theirs. There's no way to track it at that point. And once it's spent, it's spent. So it's a little bit different than just using your credit or debit card or an online electronic source. They want you to give them their PIN so they can get cash. So they're going to ask you for your banking information. Like, just give me your banking app, like, UBT, give me your sign-on information and I'll just get on and I'll do it all for you. You don't even have to worry about it. So there's this urgency with this. Give me your information and I'll take care of it. so that we can get this done faster. Or they're going to ask you to wire them money. This is where we see a lot of people get wired more than enough, and then they're asked to wire money back. Wires can be a little more complicated to track if done a certain way, and so but it's also very quick. So if somebody is wiring to a fake account or a bogus account, then the money's taken out really quickly. So it's just a faster way, and then once it's gone, it's harder to track. Now, wires can be tracked. We have a whole department. I have a really good friend that works in that department, and it can be tracked. It's just a little harder. But when you get wires that are crossed from bank to bank to bank, overseas banks, then it gets more complicated. So just keep that in mind, that these are your red flags right here. If anybody's looking at that urgency point of pay me in gift cards, or pay me, just give me your information and I'll do it for you. That's not reality, and that should make you have to sit back and go, wait a second, what is actually happening right now? And why does somebody need money so fast? And I had no idea about it. Something like that. So ask yourself these questions, even though there's emotion behind it. Care enough about the person to stop and think for a second. Avoiding romance scams. Never send money, gifts, gift cards, codes to someone you haven't met. So this is kind of hard if you're doing the online dating scene, because it's very prevalent. It's very normalized now. But sending those things to someone you haven't met, you are putting yourself at risk for losing money. Okay, just know that. And the person may be who you want them to be on the other end. But you are running the risk of losing money when you are sending money, gifts, gift cards to someone that you have never met. And when in doubt, call your bank. So if you have questions or a scenario, banks love to hear from you. They really do, because they want to know what's actually happening out in their community. So for us here in Lincoln, Nebraska, if I was dealing with an online scam and I just had questions like, is this a scam? Is this not? It would be a good idea for me to call you, Union Bank, and say, hey, have you guys heard of this? Tell me more. Do you think this is a scam or it's not? They're going to tell you, because I guarantee you are not the first person to call with that scenario. So it's not a bad idea to just run it by someone at your bank and say, hey, have you heard about this? Because they might be able to tell you a little more detail, and then also how to deal with it on their end. So call your bank when in doubt. Some things to do if you have a romance scammer: stop communicating immediately. I know this is going to be really hard, especially if you are in some sort of relationship with an online person. It's very hard to disconnect from them, but maybe you just put that on hold for a moment so you can sit back and take care of this kind of business before proceeding. Talk to someone you trust and pay attention to what your friends and family say. So if you're starting to get this weird red flag feeling, you should probably talk to the people that you trust so they can give you some outside perspective. It's very hard when you're in that moment with this person that you really trust and care for, to actually see the reality that's going on. And that's coming from somebody that has a lot of experience with stories like this and with people around them with the online friendships or dating. It is okay to talk to people and get some outside perspective. And if it is somebody that you're trusting, that you're talking to for perspective, trust that what they say is in your best interest. If you've dealt with a scammer, we would love you to report it to ftc.gov/complaint. This is kind of the federal complaint center for online dating scams and other scams. It's really important that we keep track of this, because there's usually centralized locations, or it could be, the same person scamming a bunch of different places. So it's really good to report it. Notify the website or the app that you're using. So if you're like, say, on plentyoffish.com on a dating site and this is happening, it's really important to notify the company, simply so they can remove that person or alert the person that is being scammed. And then, did you send money? Contact the company that you paid through. So if you paid through Venmo or PayPal, contact them and let them know that you've been scammed. This is really important, because maybe they could stop the payment. You get your money back too. Contact law enforcement. This is important for just community security, so they know this is happening. Law enforcement's not a bad one to run things by. Also, if you feel like you're being scammed and have some questions, they're going to know. I know in Lincoln, Nebraska, we have a special task force for online scams that are happening. So there's a particular department within our police department that kind of runs this, so we can run questions by them. Contact your bank if you gave away your personal information. We talked about this in the last scam. They can put a hold on your account, they can put an alert, they can close your account, they can stop the payment, anything like that. So as soon as you feel like you're getting scammed, please contact your bank. It will be in your best interest for sure. I did this presentation for a group of older folks, and after the presentation, I got an email like a day or two later saying that this gentleman who had heard me talk had gotten scammed like a year ago. And he went back to his bank that next day after hearing me and reported it and was working out with the bank to get some of his money back. And he just didn't realize that he had been scammed. It's never too late to let your bank know, and they're going to do what they can do to help you. But there's also a lot of things that they can advise you to do as far as your social security number, your bank account number, things like that, your private information. They're going to guide you to help protect that. So they are a good source to contact. And then update your online banking information just in case, so your sign-on, passwords, things like that. And then freeze any personal information through your credit bureau if you're one of those that has credit, and put a hold on all that until everything gets fixed and the right people know what's happening, and then you can unfreeze it. Not a hard process, and worth it in the end. Any questions? We have another story. Somebody else said that this had happened to them. Josh is just saying, if you suspect anyone from FranchiseBall is scamming you or scamming the game in some way, to let him know. That's really important to him as a business owner, that you are communicating with Josh. He loves to communicate with everyone in this game. So please, please, please communicate with him if you feel like you are being scammed or anyone else is scamming the game somehow. Okay, so let's move on to Social Security scams. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm going to talk more generally about this. So Social Security scams are happening more for older adults, retirees, things like that. They're getting robocalls or live calls from fraudsters, claiming that they are from Social Security office. So, but this can also happen if you get any sort of like SSI. I can't think of the word. There's another form of payment. I'm blanking on it, but if you get government assistance basically on a monthly basis, you might get robocalls or live calls saying that something's happened to your account. And these are the folks that get really aggressive with you, because they're going to claim to be government employees, and that they're going to make threats against your family, against you. They'll make threats of legal action or arrest against you because they're going to say they're government employees and they can do that. They may promise an increase in benefits or protect your assets or resolve identity theft. So they'll say, hey, if you do this, which they'll propose to you later, we will make sure that you get an increase in benefits if you do that. Here's the issue that always comes up is they demand some sort of payment through gift cards, cash, or wire transfer, or internet currency. And none of that is applicable to the Social Security office. So Social Security specific, they do not take cash, gift cards, or wire transfers. They don't take money, they give out money. So if you are getting any sort of call saying there's an overpayment, underpayment, what needs to happen is you need to hang up with that person and then call the office, call the Social Security office, call SSI, things like that, to find out if it's really the problem. Go into the office, things like that. You can tell the person on the phone, I will call the main line and then go to ss.gov, socialsecurity.gov, and find the local number for your office. So anytime you get those government official claims, you can hang up with them and try calling back. And if it really is an issue, then the right person will pick up the phone. But it's always good to alert the office that that is happening to you. Social Security offices will never threaten to arrest you or take legal action on you They cannot increase your payment. They have no power to do so, especially Social Security. That's a set amount. Once you start withdrawing, that's it. They will never require payment in gift cards, cash, like I said, and they will never send an official letter to you in the mail that has your personal information on it, or an email. So this is happening through email and letters. Your information will never be sent by Social Security office in the form of your personal information in that letter. So that should be enough to make you call the office and find out if there really is something wrong with the account. So you could just hang up the phone, call Social Security and say, hi, I just got a call that said that there was some issue with my account, and I'm just wondering if you can help me with that. And someone's going to help you. And then they'll likely put an alert on your account that you're dealing with scammers. It's happening a lot right now, especially for the older generation, retirees, because they're very vulnerable right now with COVID, and money is typically pretty tight for most of the world right now. And so the threat of an increase in their benefits, most people will do what they have to do to get that. Again, some things to do if you're dealing with Social Security scams: stop communicating with the person immediately, call the office back, find the number online and call them. Don't ask the caller for the number. Go and do some research and find the number yourself. Report it to oig.ssa.gov. I said ss.gov earlier. It's ssa.gov. You can report the scam there. Never pay out to a scammer, especially with Social Security. They cannot receive payment. Actual government employees like that cannot receive payment. And then call your financial institution if you did pay out anything, because they can work with Social Security office to get your money back. Okay. Any questions? Probably no questions on that. All right, money mule scams. I'm trying to think of a better phrase for this. That's what they use at the bank, is money mules, and I'll explain why, but y'all might be a little more knowledgeable about this, or have heard stories about this without using the money mule. It's kind of a weird word. So what this is scammers recruit victims, to move stolen money. So they already have money either by drugs. That's usually the typical one, and they need to move it. So it's not clean money, and they need to move it to get clean. So what they'll do is they'll use advertisements for work-at-home jobs, online dating. They'll use that outlet, prize or lottery money. You may get some sort of call or letter saying that you won the lottery, come and claim your prize. What they're doing is they're going to give you cash. You're going to put it in your account, and it's clean money. It's suddenly, because they're banking on the fact that you aren't involved in any fraud. So your bank account is clean money, and then they're going to ask for it back because the tracking is different at that point. If you've ever seen a sign, we have them all over Lincoln for some reason, but we have these work at home signs that are just on corners and they're just stuck in the grass. Work at home, make $100 an hour, things like that. That is likely a money mule scam because that's not reality. It's very hard to find a job that you can work from home and make $100 an hour. So we have to sit back and ask ourselves, is this really reality? Is this realistic? Do I have the education to be making $100 an hour? Ask yourselves these questions because it's likely just fraud on the other end. Job titles, I've seen and I've heard this a lot on like Craigslist and places like that. They're gonna advertise jobs as mystery shoppers or interns. They call them money transfer agents, tutors. Those are the things that if they're saying you could be making a ton of money an hour by working at home, those are likely money mule scams where they're going to have you move dirty money to get it clean. Jobs may be posted online through Craigslist or other online platforms. So be careful where you're looking for a job if that is what you're doing. And you may receive emails, phishing emails that just say, we saw your resume online and we want to hire you. That's typically not the route that people go when hiring someone for a job. Sure, you can post your resume on Indeed.com, but the way that they contact you is very different than just saying, we saw your resume and we want to hire you. So be cautious when someone's reaching out to you to say that we want to hire you before they even talk to you, because it's likely a money mule. So these are all very much job related, because again, they want to pay you somehow, probably with an overpayment, and then they're going to ask for it back so that they can get money back from you and it doesn't look dirty anymore. Ads will often say for these jobs that the company is based outside of the United States, all work is done online, and you'll get paid a lot of money for a little amount of work. So those are some key red flags when looking at job advertisements. If you do follow through with those advertisements, you're going to find real quick, they're going to ask for your bank account. They're going to request you to open up a new bank account. They'll give you specific instructions on what you should do with your bank account and how to transfer funds. They'll say you need to pay them to get the job, whether it's for the tools that you need or the resources that you need. They're going to make you pay for it, and you should never have to pay to start a job. That's just not reality. Sure, you may have to buy a uniform, or if you're in construction, some tools. But for the most part, especially if you're working from home and online, you shouldn't have to pay for anything. The job that you get should be paying for your training. So they may say you have to pay them, and that's how they're going to get your money. And then they may ask you to deposit a check and immediately return the funds. Like I've said a lot, they're going to overpay you, or they're going to use a tester and they're going to send you money to your new bank account and then have you send it back once you receive it, just so that they know that the bank account is good. But their money is never going to clear in your account, and you're going to send them back money that you already had. Okay, how to avoid losing money. Don't accept jobs that ever ask you to transfer money. Any job that asks you to do that is not a good job. Never send money to collect on a prize or lottery. I've seen these advertisements a lot come through, phishing emails where they will say you won a $10,000, lottery, send $2,000 to kind of reserve your money. You should never have to pay to receive a prize. Do not release your online or mobile banking credentials. So never give anyone your sign-on information, your account information. And if you already have, like we've said for all these scams, if you've already sent money, contact your bank immediately. They can stop the transferring of funds, typo there, and end all communication with them. Somebody's saying they've gotten checks in the mail to test Western Union. Big scam. Yes, that is a big one. So if you're getting a check in the mail and you have no idea where it's coming from, rip it up or call the company and find out what it is. Somebody got a PCH letter saying they won $2.5 million. Awesome. Well, you'll probably have to send them about $20,000 to receive that. Back to our presentation. If you suspect a money mule scam, any bank is going to tell you to file a complaint with ftc.gov/complaint. Call your bank just to make sure that they can put an alert on your account or stop the funding, and then contact credit bureaus to freeze your personal information like we've talked about before. So kind of the same process with all the scams of what you should do and how you should handle it. Phishing scams. This is I believe our last one here. In 2019, the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center reported that people had lost $30 million to phishing scams in 1 year. That was just 2019. It was likely for 2018 data. Phishing attempts can happen through email, text messages, and phone calls. So scammers will attempt to trick you by releasing your information to them. So I'm sure everyone with a cell phone has received that weird number that may have some letters in it. That's who the recipient or the sender is from. And then it says something like, you've won a prize or something's wrong with your account. And then they'll have some sort of funky website that you're supposed to click in that text message. That's a phishing email. And the second that you click that, it's gathering your data, your information. So don't click that. Never click that. Just delete that. I got one fairly recently, and it claimed to be from Target, and it said your payment was not processed through your app. So the reality is I use the Target app, and I've bought things on there, and I had just bought something on there. And so it will, it said that my payment didn't go through, but by clicking on that, it went to another website, which I did not open. But what I did was I deleted the text message and went to my Target app to make sure that everything had gone through securely, and it had. So they're going to use things that you might recognize as typical shopping excursions or something like that, to try to get you to open up these websites, either through emails or even phone calls. But they're trying to get you to release your information to them, or they use those links to gather your data. Once they obtain this information, they're going to gain access to like your email, bank account, social media, anything that's on your phone. They're going to have a higher risk of having that information from you. And this can come through social media messages too. That happens a lot also. So be careful on those apps too. They're going to look like they're coming from the company that you trust. Like me, it was Target. And they may even look like your bank or your credit card, social networking sites, anything like that. They're going to look familiar, but you need to know that if you don't know where the number is coming from, or it has some weird website on it that doesn't even look like a www.ubt.com, it is likely not from who they say they are, and please just delete it. But you can always call the company that they claim to be from just to make sure everything is good. But if you don't shop there, it's probably not an issue. Just delete it. How to recognize phishing scams. They're going to say things that they've noticed suspicious activity or extra login attempts. There's a problem with your account or payment information like they did me. They're going to say you need to confirm your information for the payment to be processed. So maybe you get a text message after you've bought something, and they're going to claim that it can't go through until you confirm your information. They're going to want you to click a link in order to make the payment. So that's what they were wanting me to do in my text message, was to update my information so I could make a payment. And then they will offer often some sort of free merchandise or service once you do that. So if you click here, you can, get $20 or whatever that looks like for them. But those are all the red flags. So take heed of those red flags because they're real. This is happening constantly. And that's why we lost $30 million in 2018 to phishing scams. All right. Plenty of sources here that I did my homework on. I'm going to skip the online dating here because it is the same as romance scams, but that is my information